Drawing is more than just a form of art. It is a way for someone to express their own thoughts and feelings without even needing to say a single word. It can be something as simple as a stick figure or a smiley face, to something as complex as an apartment building or a very tall tree. Before a drawing can be made, the artist needs to have an idea of what they want to draw. This helps people avoid sitting in front of a blank piece of paper, scratching their head, and spending too much time trying to come up with an idea. After the idea is thought up, the artist needs to grab whatever tools are on hand so they can actually make the drawing. A piece of paper, either as small as a sticky note or as big as a page from a sketchbook, should work nicely. Tools such as colored pencils, Sharpies, graphite pencils, or charcoal are commonly used for drawing. There are many different drawing techniques to choose from. Shading is when shadows are added onto a two-dimensional drawing to make it look like it's popping off the page. Otherwise, the design would feel flat and not evoke any emotions. Stippling is when tiny dots are placed in an organized pattern, either close together or far apart, and once the dots are seen from a distance, it creates the illusion of a shadow being placed onto a flat object. Adding shadows may sound like an easy task, but in order to show it as accurately as possible, the artist needs to envision a light source. This helps with determining the size, shape, and value of the shadow. Hatching is when diagonal lines are placed on the inside of a drawing's edges, creating a shadow that is neither too light to see, but not too light to be inferred as invisible. As for cross hatching, while it is similar to hatching, the difference is that the diagonal lines intersect over one another to imply that the area is of a different color. Tracing is another example of a drawing technique, but this is not usually favored because it involves copying something that already exists. While it would be easier than drawing something by hand, it deprives the audience of being able to say that they made the art themselves. Now that I've gone over most of the techniques that people use, it's time to explain why drawing is such an important part of the art world. Drawing is crucial because it can easily be done without needing to be too large, be exclusive to those who attended art classes on different drawing techniques, or gain a massive amount of attention. It is also a simple art form that does not require a chisel, giant canvas, buckets of paint, spray cans, a kiln, or an extensive knowledge of glass manufacturing. It also needs to be known how someone can benefit from drawing. Figure drawings help with making real-world designs like a bowl of food, cup of water, or a lifelike image of an animal. White on black drawings paying more attention to the light source because the black paper is already being used for shadows, saving the artist time from having to figure out how much pressure needs to be applied to achieve the correct amount of darkness. Self-portraits help the artist get a better idea of drawing people. By drawing themselves, they will know the proper way to add eyes, a nose, a mouth, ears, and any other features that can be found on a person's face. Implied lines are lines that are not touching each other at first glance, but do have a connection after learning why they exist. It makes the audience think critically and get a better understanding of how the mind of the artist works. There's also thick and thin lines, which create a contrast in values. Perspective drawings, which help people learn to draw from different angles. Viewfinders, which lets an artist see a design in a grid-like format. And rough sketches, which is a quick way to brainstorm ideas while practicing some drawing techniques. People should also consider if they'll be drawing something that is either real or fictional. Drawings based on real items such as objects, animals, buildings, or people that can visually be touched require time and energy to make sure that every detail is accurate. As for drawings that are fictional, there is more creative liberty and less of an emphasis on following real-world logic. Even if a thought may seem like a good idea, in practice it could turn out to be totally different than what the audience was expecting. This applies to drawing, and a simple way of avoiding this problem is by using a reference photo. Say for example, an artist wants to draw a flower inside of a pot. While it would make sense for them to imagine the design and transfer it onto the paper, many things can happen that can alter the final design. Angles might be wrong, pieces could be shrunken down or blown without an explanation, the perspective could be wrong, and even the amount of lighting can mess things up. This is where the reference photo comes in. By using a photograph, the artist will already know what perspective to draw from, how large the object needs to be, and be able to get the proportions correct without filling in space with useless items. It is possible for anyone, no matter who they are, to have an idea that can be shared with the world, but also do it in a way that doesn't involve relying on words.